The scream wasn't loud. It was a strangled, wet gasp that died in the back of Sarah's throat because the pain was too absolute for noise. 4 a.m. Her bedroom was pitch black, but behind her right eyelid, a supernova was detonating. She didn't just feel pain, she felt invasion. It felt like someone had taken a handful of crushed diamonds and rubbed them directly onto her pupil. She clawed at the sheets. Her fingernails dug into her palms. She tried to open her eye. Big mistake. The muscle contraction dragged her eyelid across the surface of her cornea. It felt like a rusty, serrated knife slicing through jelly. This wasn't an eyelash. This wasn't dry eye. This was biological warfare happening on a surface area smaller than a dime. Sarah stumbled to the bathroom, one hand cupped over her face, knocking over a glass of water. The crash sounded like a bomb in the silent apartment. She fumbled for the light switch. The moment the LEDs flickered on, her knees buckled. Photophobia. The light didn't just brighten the room, it pierced her optic nerve like a heated needle, sending a shockwave of nausea straight to her gut. She forced her eye open in the mirror. It was drowning in red. A web of angry, swollen vessels strangling the iris. And there, right in the center, a cloudy, gray smudge. 8 hours earlier, Sarah had made a choice. A lazy, innocent choice. She was 24, she was exhausted. She had stumbled in from a double shift, washed her face at the sink, splashing distinct, lukewarm tap water over her closed eyelids. She didn't take her contacts out. Just for an hour, she thought. Just a nap. She collapsed onto the bed. The perfect environment was set. Tap water is not sterile. It is a chaotic ecosystem. Inside that single splash of water lived Acanthamoeba, a microscopic, free-living amoeba, a scavenger. Usually it eats bacteria. It hunts in soil, dust, and fresh water. But tonight, it found a new hunting ground. When Sarah slept, her contact lens acted as a trap, a petri dish. It sealed the amoeba against her cornea. It deprived the eye of oxygen. The defense mechanisms shut down. The amoeba sensed warmth. It sensed protein. It extended its acanthopodia, spiked hammer-like pseudopods, and began to dig. It didn't just sit on the surface. It latched on. The contact lens created a humid, stagnant microclimate. The amoeba released enzymes, proteases. These are chemical scissors. They dissolve protein bonds. Specifically, they began to liquefy the epithelial layer of Sarah's eye. The outer shield melted away. The nerve endings were exposed. The amoeba fed on the dissolved tissue, multiplying. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, a microscopic army marching deeper into the stroma, eating her sight layer by layer. Most people think tap water is safe. You drink it, you shower in it, you trust it. But for a contact lens wearer, tap water is poison. Sarah woke up not because of a nightmare, but because the creature was no longer just on her eye, it was in it. She tried to pinch the contact lens out. Her fingers trembled. She grabbed the plastic edge. It wouldn't move. It had fused with the swelling. She pulled harder. The suction broke with a wet snap. She didn't just remove the lens. She ripped off the top layer of her cornea that the amoeba had already loosened. The pain doubled. She collapsed on the bathroom tile, curling into a fetal ball. The smell of bleach and toilet cleaner filled her nose, grounding her in a reality that was rapidly narrowing down to a single point of agony in her right skull. She didn't know it yet, but the creature was burrowing away from the surface now, fleeing the light, digging toward the nerves to feast. If you have ever slept in your contacts, even once, you have played Russian roulette with a single-celled predator. This story isn't rare. It is a biological inevitability waiting for a lapse in hygiene. Hit the like button right now, not for Sarah, but to push this warning up the algorithm. You might save someone's vision today just by sharing this horror. The emergency room smelled of stale coffee and industrial bleach. Sarah sat in a plastic chair that vibrated with the hum of the vending machine. Her world had shrunk. Her left eye saw the flickering fluorescent lights. Her right eye saw only a gray, pulsating fog. The pain was no longer sharp. It was a dull, heavy throbbing, like a heartbeat inside her eyeball. The resident doctor was young, tired. He shined a slit lamp into her eye. Sarah recoiled, hissing through her teeth. He saw the redness. He saw the abrasion. He made the logical assumption. Bacterial keratitis, he mumbled, scribbling on a chart. Standard infection from the contacts. He prescribed a heavy-duty antibiotic and a corticosteroid to reduce the inflammation. This was the second mistake. Sarah went home. She followed the orders. She put the drops in. But Acanthamoeba is not a bacteria. It does not care about antibiotics. And the steroids? The steroids were a gift. They shut down the eye's local immune response. The police went on break. The rioters took over. Inside the corneal stroma, the amoeba celebrated. With the immune system suppressed by the drops, they stopped hiding. They began to reproduce at terrifying speed. They changed formation. They stopped grazing and started drilling. They targeted the corneal nerves. This is a specific nightmare called radial keratoneuritis. The organism wraps itself around the nerve fibers like a python. It secretes enzymes that dissolve the myelin sheath. It eats the pain receptors alive. This explains the defining symptom of this disease: pain out of proportion to signs. The eye might look a little irritated, but the patient feels like they are being lobotomized. Sarah screamed into her pillow for 3 days. The fog in her vision grew denser. A white opacity began to form, not a spot, but a perfect spectral ring. The ring infiltrate, the hallmark of the beast. She returned to the hospital, not walking, crawling. Her mother had to guide her. The specialist took one look at the ring-shaped ulcer and went pale. He didn't reach for a prescription pad. He reached for a Kimura spatula, a sharp metal scraping tool. "Hold perfectly still," he whispered. He didn't numb the eye enough. He couldn't. He scraped the surface of her cornea, harvesting cells from the ulcer's edge. Sarah gripped the chair rails until her joints popped. She could hear the scraping sound, a wet, scratching noise like a fingernail on a chalkboard, reverberating through her skull. The sample went to the lab. Under the confocal microscope, the mystery dissolved. They didn't see rods. They didn't see cones. They saw double-walled cysts. Hundreds of them. The lab tech recoiled. The diagnosis was confirmed. It wasn't an infection, it was an infestation. Do you clean your contact lens case every single day? Be honest. Drop a comment below with yes or no. Don't lie. The comments section is filled with people who think rinsing it with water is enough. Look at them. Realize how many people are walking around with a loaded gun in their pocket. The doctor walked back into the room. He wasn't holding a pharmacy slip. He was holding a consent form for a treatment that belongs in the dark ages. He looked Sarah in the good eye and said, "We know what it is, and we have to poison it before it reaches your brain. There is no pill for this. There is no gentle ointment. To kill a fortress, you have to nuke the city." The doctor handed Sarah a bottle of PHMB, polyhexamethylene biguanide. It is essentially swimming pool cleaner. It is toxic to human cells, but it is lethal to the amoeba. The regimen was torture by design. 1 drop every hour, day and night, for 4 months. Sarah didn't sleep. She drifted into a chemically induced twilight, only to be jerked awake by the alarm at 2 a.m., then 3 a.m., then 4 a.m. Each drop felt like a lit match touching her eyeball. The chemical burned away the parasite, but it also scorched the surface of her eye, leaving it raw and weeping. But the drops weren't penetrating deep enough. The amoeba had dug into the basement membrane. They had to lower the shields. Every 3 days, Sarah returned to the clinic for debridement. There was no anesthesia strong enough to mask it. The doctor used a sterile blade to physically scrape the dead and infected tissue off her living eye. She could hear the grit. She could feel the vibration in her teeth. He was peeling her like a grape to let the poison soak in. 6 months. That is how long the war lasted. The parasite died, but the parasite took Sarah's cornea with it. The central vision was replaced by a thick white scar that looked like a drop of milk frozen in ice. She was technically blind in the right eye. The only option left was a penetrating keratoplasty, a full-thickness transplant. A donor died, and their clear cornea was stitched onto Sarah's eye with sutures finer than a human hair. She lay on the operating table, awake, watching the shadow of the needle pass over her vision, feeling the tug of the thread. She can see today, but the vision is warped, distorted, like looking through a funhouse mirror. And she never sleeps soundly. She wakes up at night, pawing at her face, convinced she can feel something moving, something digging. This channel is your immune system. We inject you with the knowledge that keeps you alive in a world trying to eat you. Click the subscribe button now. Do not be the patient in my next script. Arm yourself. Sarah threw away her contacts. She wears glasses now. But sometimes, when she stands in the shower and the water hits her face, she holds her breath. She squeezes her eyes shut until it hurts, because she knows the truth. The monster isn't gone. It's in the reservoir. It's in the pipes. It's waiting in the tap.